How are you going to improve our health care?
The promise that Franklin Delano Roosevelt made for individual savings accounts. The reason why you have a Social Security number is there's supposed to be a bank account in Baltimore with your money. But from the very beginning, there was never any money. It was just a number. There was no money. Every administration and every Congress, whether it was controlled by the Democrats or the Republicans, since then has been maintaining, what's the nice way to say it? What's the proper genteel way of saying it? What's the general way of saying it? They've been maintaining a falsehood that you actually have money in your Social Security account. You have nothing except a number. But the promise that Roosevelt made is a good promise. It's one that really works. It's the same principle behind a 401k or an individual, an IRA. In the same way that you have an individual savings account for your retirement, we need to have health savings accounts. It's something that I've talked to Delegate Phil Hamilton about for over 10 years. Phil's been the champion for health savings accounts in Virginia. And what I've been suggesting, urging, pleading with him to do in the General Assembly year after year is expand the health savings accounts. We need to have a health saving account for every American from birth to death, where money, tax money, which is from a common pot that we all contribute to, and the principle has already been established in laws and by reviews from the Supreme Court, where we put a little bit of money from a common pot, a fair share for everybody. In Virginia, I actually wrote about health savings accounts and proposed using the sales tax increase, $200 a person for the first year, $200. I know it's small, but you start somewhere. And then allowing people to put more money in, and then something else. If you want to put money in for your neighbor or your friend or your sister or your cousin, when you do that, it comes off your taxes. It's the idea of sharing the wealth, not from government, and not having government tell you to do it, but people supporting one another, multiple layers of communities of common interest, and having government get out of the way and having government facilitate. I'm trying to say two things at the same time. Both get out of the way and facilitate you building the money for your own health savings account. And something that, oh, by the way, that if you die and there's money in the bank, it goes to your kids. It doesn't go back to the feds.
But won't the government just use that as another big body to borrow from?
No, you control it. You control your 401k. You will control your own health savings account.
But they've borrowed from Social Security.
Social Security is a sham. It's a scam. I use the word, and I know it upsets people, I call it socialist security. If you try to open a business in any state in the union using the same principles as Social Security today, you'll go to jail. It's called a Ponzi scheme. You'll go to jail, okay? The government's running a Ponzi scheme. Now, let me back off for a second. Anybody who's in Social Security, like my sister and my brother-in-law, should stay in Social Security. Promises made, promises kept. Anybody who's my age, 57, you probably ought to stay in it too. Somebody who's 40 years old, there ought to be a middle ground between the old system and an improved system. Every now and then you read about somebody who was the latest one I remember, there was a lady in Mississippi who worked as a school janitor her entire life. Minimum wage her entire life. And when she retired, or when she died, she didn't have any kids, didn't have much family. She left over $500,000 to a college in Mississippi. Okay, how did that happen? How did she have $500,000?
She saved it.
She saved it. If you take the money that the government takes, both the money that you pay as an individual, and at below the stock market since 1790. Since 1790, the stock market average increase through wild ups and wild downs is 7%, 6 to 7%. If you go below that, if you go in safe things, government bonds, if you buy government bonds, take that money, and if you work minimum wage and you never get more than minimum wage from age 20 to 64, at the end of that, you're going to have a nest egg of over $400,000. You're going to pay yourself 3 times what Social Security would pay you. And guess what? When you die, your kids get your money.
So you're saying that people should take what they need off the top and set it aside just as government should take what we need out of the budget first.
I'd say it a little bit differently. I'd say that the principle has already been established in law and by judicial precedent that government can facilitate that. That's the Social Security Act. Government can help us take care of ourselves simply by taking the money and putting it in a bank account. The distinction I'm making and the big difference between liberalism and conservatism is you take the money out of taxes. Okay, so we're on the same sheet there. The money goes out from by taxes, but it goes into a bank account that you control. You invest. Now, there are restrictions on when you can take the money out. There are restrictions, so you can't just, you can't go wild, can't go to Las Vegas and spend all that money. There'll be some restrictions, and there'll be insurance. You can, the same way you have insurance for banks, so that the banks don't all fold today. Again, another lesson from the Depression, from the terrible times then. The money goes to the individual. There are restrictions on it, but you let the money grow the money. Capital grows capital. Why is the saying the rich grow richer true? Because money makes money. That's the way it works. It's the way of the world. Laws of economics are like the laws of physics. You violate the law of gravity, you jump off your house, bad things are going to happen. You mess with the laws of economics, terrible things happen. It costs people's jobs, it costs their opportunities, it restricts their freedom.